The following podcast is intended for people who are intent on growing their business. And welcome to Innovate Marketing, where we are bringing you interviews with the people that are making waves in the world of marketing, branding, and business growth. I'm your host, shawnpneal, and we are brought to you by MyPodcast.Media. So if you're a brand and you're considering podcasting or even revamping an existing podcast, make sure you visit mypodcast.media. Now, we've got a great show for you today, so without further ado, let's get into it. So before we get started today, here's a little bit of history. So Ray Tomlinson was the first one to send an email. He did that in 1971. Now, he was a computer engineer who developed a new system of communication between computers known as electronic mail. And it relied on ARPANET, which was the U.S. Department of Defense system, which eventually became the foundation, the basis for the internet as we know it. Then in 1978, Gary Thurick created the first ever campaign sending 400 emails via ARPANET. So today's guests, I'm really excited to bring you these guests. They are the two of the three founders of Code Crew. And we're going to dive deep into the world of email and email marketing. But before we do, let's take a minute to get to know Alex Melone and Andrei Marin. Alex Melone and Andrei Marin, co-founders of Code Crew, are on a mission to harness email marketing for the betterment of the world and the small businesses that drive the real, sustainable, and exciting growth that we can all be proud of. Along with the three co-founders, which includes Alex and Andrei, their team of 40 email experts strives to continue pushing the limits of email's capabilities and its returns for Code Crew's clients. And welcome back. We've got Alex and Andrei. And you two are from Code Crew. Welcome, both of you. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to chat and just, have a good little time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pleased to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So first of all, let's get these titles out of the way, because as we were talking prior to hitting the record button, titles are titles, but you two are co-founders of Code Crew, right?
We're two of the three. Yeah.
Two of the three. Okay.
Yeah. And then the big boss is somewhere else telling us what to do.
Okay. So Alex, who came up with this first? Who was like the brains behind Code Crew?
So actually funny you say brains behind Code Crew, because one thing that actually Andrei and I usually say is if you put us together, we might make one complete brain. So it was a joint deal. We were all just, going back a little bit, we were playing FIFA one day. Andrei was whooping my butt, as always. And then, we just started talking, started thinking, hey, we could go ahead and make this awesome company. We already do this stuff. We already know how it works. We see, room for improvement. And then we said, oh, bada bing, bada boom, let's go ahead and try this out. And here we are almost 5 years later, and, we're kicking it.
That's amazing. Now, Andrei, did you, when this whole idea came about, were you like, yeah, let's go for this? Or was it like, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
I think it's always terrifying when you're doing it. I was actually co-founding my second business by that time. The first one was enough just to put kind of bread on the table and make sure that we pay the dues at the end of the month, but it didn't blast off as we were all kind of hoping for. Then we kind of, Alex and myself met working for this other bigger agency in the email marketing space. And, to his point, we knew how to do everything that we were planning to do as a company, but there's always that big unknown that you're kind of leaping into. And working a couple of jobs for a while and all of the grind that goes into making sure that you actually set yourself up for success. It's never easy to make that decision, but I think you always need that one bone in your body that is ready to take a wild leap, to have a bit of faith, and hopefully it pans out for the good. Who knows?
I love that. Well, and I love, kind of the message behind what you're saying here, because I think it's kind of the founder story. Am I right that, yeah, and you're both nodding your heads here for those that are listening. It's, the founder story is that kind of, we take off on this journey, and my experience with it has been, it can be very isolating at times. Like, when you think about your family and people who aren't necessarily directly involved with building the business, they can look at you like you're crazy. They can look at you like, I don't understand you. Have you both, either one of you, experienced that kind of, isolation a little bit in your journey in building this?
Quite a bit. So actually, COVID has made it so that the entire world now understand what working remotely means and what having a remote team means. Yes. But here at Code Crew, we kind of made it cool before it became cool for the rest of the world. So we were full remote from the very beginning. So, I mean, being at home, working from home, everybody sees you not leaving the house for the entire day. Everybody kind of starts thinking that you're a loser, kind of wasting your entire day playing video games, FIFA, who knows? But yeah, it's definitely a little bit isolating. Making it clear to other folks just how much you're working is even more difficult when you're working from home, because pre-COVID, everybody kind of had that dream to work remotely, and then COVID came and everybody started, pardon my French, but bitching about how hard it is to be at home and work remotely and how much of a grind it can become. So I think that's where it was kind of fun to see how the rest of the world started understanding how tiresome it can be to be locked up in a room and kind of your commute to take a minute and a half from the dorm room to the office and have to start kicking full speed ahead as soon as you wake up, basically, to make sure that you start making progress for the day.
Yeah, gosh, I know. And for many years, my office, it was in my home. And when I first started my business, it was located literally at the foot of my bed.
Yeah.
So that's where my desk was. And I would wake up and I'd raise my head up and I'd look right at my desk. And I'm like, oh, this has got to go. But you're right. People, were like, well, how do you make money? You just sit at home all day. So let's crack this nut open, because Code Crew obviously, was a natural fit for both of you and your other co-founder there. We don't want to leave that person out. So when you kind of look at where you've started, and you both knew, this email marketing space, to where you are now, what would you say you have seen as some of the biggest changes in this email marketing landscape?
So there's this tiny company, I don't know if you've heard of it, called Apple. They ended up deciding to, what was it, 2 years ago now? 3 years ago? You know what? Sometimes time just doesn't make sense. But they decided to just go ahead and launch this update to iOS to go ahead and, help with privacy, which is fantastic, and I'm all for that. But it made things a little bit tougher for us as marketers, especially email marketers. And what this was this somewhat of a hidden email open relay of sorts. So, yes. Whenever you go ahead and send an email out, it says, hey, this has been opened, even if it wasn't. So, it was opened by a machine. And for a few months there, it was, a bit of a pain, a bit tricky. Then we ended up figuring out this, secret sauce kind of way to make sure that, hey, we can track this much better. And, ever since then, things have been, much smoother. But I'd say that was the biggest change, and also the toughest for us as marketers, in all honesty.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. What about you, Andrei? Any thoughts to go along with that?
Yeah, I think that was definitely the biggest one. I think some of the things that we weren't really foreseeing at the very beginning stages of our company was just how much of a sharky world the world of business is. We were expecting it and we were bracing for it, but you're always shocked to see that people stop being people when things don't go their way necessarily. So that was something that we, from the very beginning, we're people that want to do business for good and have always had different things in our founding story and chapters that we truly wanted to get done. So for instance, we plant a couple of trees for every single email campaign we send for any of our clients. We work pro bono with a couple of NGOs every single year as our way to give back into the community. So we have that at our foundation to be good and do good in the world. So, when you're seeing different clients kind of go out of their way to make sure that they don't pay their invoices, or that they kind of exit the relationship with one leg up, it's a little bit I don't know, daunting, maybe soul crushing. I don't know what the word is for it, but it definitely toughened us in a way that we didn't necessarily want to be toughened up. We were fine the way we were. I think that was alone the biggest the toughest thing to get prepped for, because you do need to be prepped for that kind of thing if you see it coming. But I think that we would all imagine a world where nothing like that happens, and we can all kind of be humane up until the very end. It doesn't matter how the progress goes. You just need to look at your inner self and be human.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather make, I don't know, $10 less at the end of the day and be a good person about it than, squeeze every last bit of money that I can out of someone. So, to Dre's point, it has definitely been really eye-opening just, how different people use business. It can be used for good. It can be used just as a way to make money and not really make anything better for the world either. So, hopefully you can work with the farm.
Well, we talk a lot about, purpose-driven and mission-driven, and I think that's, one of the things that you kind of alluded to is your philanthropic, nature behind what you do and making sure that you're giving back. And I think that's one of the key things that keeps us kind of authentic and genuine, is to have that mission and to make sure that you're somehow leaning into it every step of the way. So I would love to talk about this because y'all built a team of, was it roughly 40 people? Is that right? Okay.
Thereabouts.
So let's kind of talk about that, because I think, as we talk about scalability and, businesses that are reaching that phase where they're going, okay, my next step is my first big hire. My next step is building this sales team or whatever. Can you kind of allude to what that was like for you both as you went into that and started to scale, and how you took on that challenge?
Absolutely. Alex, I'm going to beat you to the curve here because I just remembered a couple of things the other day while listening to the podcast, actually to a previous episode. I remembered a couple of things. So when we were very small, I think the beauty of bootstrapping and being a startup is that you get really creative and you get really, really nitty-gritty with every single aspect of your business, from things like, for instance, checking your P&L statement at the end of every single month, as well as your bank statement, to make sure that no charges are in there that you kind of forgot about, and lo and behold, you're short $5,000 that you didn't really want to spend in the first place because it was for this subscription that you're not using anymore. That was a big learning very early on, and something that we kept with us for we even do it up until this very month. Either Alex or myself, every single month, checks the bank statement. All of the probably 300 plus entries, we go through them line by line to make sure that nothing doesn't make sense in there. And then something else, we used to be making a lot of paid internship kind of programs where we were hiring a lot of kiddos to help us with things that we weren't necessarily excited about, and to get a lot of experience on their end as well. And that was actually a really cost-efficient way of ours to not only grow the team, but also grow our capacity when we were still a team probably that was, I don't know, 4 or 6 strong at max. So those were some really interesting times. Obviously, with that kind of procedure, you get a lot less professionalism than you would ideally want to show in front of clients. But I think every single company has different stages, and we were able to get scrappy, to put in the extra work on our end to make sure that those things never actually came across to the client fully. So those were a couple of things that I just remembered the other day. But man, it's been such a long time. They were almost wiped completely out of memory.
That happens. There have been so many things years upon years ago that you just think back on and think, wow, if it would have been a little bit different, either, we would have seen success so much quicker, or the exact opposite. We could have tanked in some cases if, some situations would have panned out differently. So it's been a fun, interesting journey. I'd say.
And I notice all of our heads are like bouncing yes. I think everybody that's watching or listening to this is having that same nod of the head too. We all get it. So now when we're talking about team building, we're talking about the human factor, and that's where I think this gets really interesting, because a lot of times I don't know that founders necessarily walk into the space thinking, oh, great, I'm going to get to manage a whole team of people in a year or two. What were some challenges that you encountered in that space of building the team? And by the way, I'm going to go at this, twofold here. I'm looking for challenges, but on the other side of that, I'm going to really kind of push you to find out what were some of the secrets that you learned to really getting that team tightened up and attuned. But let's talk about challenges first. What kind of things did you encounter?
Oh, so since we're fully remote and have been since the beginning, we use a platform, that goes ahead and tracks everyone's time, their work, so we can also get billing down, so we can know about allocation. And one challenge that we actually had pretty early on is some of our team is a little too smart for their own good. We had some people figure out ways to actually somewhat trick the system. So that was definitely a teething pain earlier on. Thankfully, I hope we don't have it anymore. We still check that. But it looks like, the team is much more open about what they're doing. But yeah, that was actually a fun little experience where, folks would, maybe get a little bit behind on work. We'd see and say, hey, what's going on with this? And then lo and behold, we figure out, hey, this is, set to loop. This is set to repeat. This is artificial. And that became a big challenge. But it also helped us, understand how to manage better as well. We came to the folks, said, hey, listen, we know what's going on. This isn't right. Please, be open, be honest, be respectful. This is something that we, always want to cultivate within the team. This is something that, we've always been really mindful of ever since day one. Just be a good person. And, we unfortunately had those discussions where they ended, negatively, and, the person had to part ways with us. And then we've had discussions where that same person or, a different person doing the same thing ended up being some of our best folks. So, it really
Sure.
teaches you how to manage well and effectively and, in the best interest of everyone.
I've got a cool one for you. So,
Nice.
The world of hiring kind of in a remote capacity is a very interesting one. We actually wanted to pair up two of our key founding factors, the kind of giving back and doing business for good component, as well as our remote component, and make sure that we hire from all over the world, no matter the place, no matter the experience, as long as you have the proper knowledge and the proper ambition and kind of drive to be successful. We wanted you to have a shot within our team. So oftentimes we used to put up these job boards, and I am not kidding you. We used to get in excess of maybe 1,500 applicants for a single role. And that was crazy to go through, absolutely crazy. And in some instances, we hopped on interviews that were absolute time wastes. I cannot even begin to explain. Like, people completely improperly dressed, people that couldn't even basically answer two very simple questions, and you
Yikes.
still had to respect those folks and spend at least kind of 10-15 minutes with them so that they didn't feel like you were making fun of them or whatnot. So the solution to that was to start requesting videos from every single applicant. I know this isn't rocket science, but back when we started implementing it, it actually wasn't as common as it is right now. I think we've been doing it for the past 3.5 to 4 years. And you'd be surprised just how many applicants knock themselves out by not even sending a video in the first place.
Sure.
And then how many of those that send the video actually forget or don't want to dress up properly, don't want to make sure that they have a decent appearance on camera, that they structure their thoughts somehow. And so that has helped us massively to pre-call a lot of the applicants before we schedule calls with I think 2% of the applicants that actually come through we actually get a chance to hop on a call with and discuss for 45 minutes and have the team meet them and everything in between, because everybody else has a way of knocking themselves out, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. That was a game changer.
I bet. Well, and the fact that you alluded to it, you said it could be something very simple, but I think that's often the case. I mean, sometimes we have to take that lesson, and we realize that the simple answer is going to be the most effective way to fix it. Believe me, I the P&L statements when you were talking earlier, I learned that lesson early on.
The hard way, I bet.
Exactly. That's why my desk was at the end of my bed instead of in an office. and then I learned. So I love the fact that you two are. We talked about this. You got this chemistry, and something tells me that is beyond the camera here. There's this. You both kind of talk in sync. You nod back and forth. What is the working partnership like for you? And I don't know, maybe I'm getting in this questionable territory here, but what is the working partnership for you like? And what would you say makes a good working partnership for those people out there who are maybe involved in a partnership, or at the very least considering?
Honestly, from my end, it always starts with not just respect, but also being front about the way you feel. We all have those days when you just absolutely feel like eviscerating somebody. Yep. The way Alex knows that I sometimes, there's this funny meme from Mr. Wonderful saying that he's going to eviscerate somebody on the Shark Tank show. So I on occasion send that to Alex when I have a bad day. I think it's important to be front about that and to tell somebody that you're about to eviscerate them if you're about to eviscerate them. Otherwise, that can bottle up inside in pretty nasty ways, and it could come out at the worst possible times. So we try to be very open with everything that we not only feel but also think. And if you feel elated, share it. If you feel terrible, share it. Maybe that other co-founder, person, teammate, it doesn't even need to be somebody management level, feels the same way or feels a very specific way, and you're able to work it out. That's that communication component, I think, is not only important between us, but we've tried our best to instill it in the rest of the team and make sure that they come back with their problems to us when those problems exist. Otherwise, you kind of get somebody that's really frustrated and you don't understand why they're underperforming, and they don't sometimes even understand that they are underperforming. So we encourage all of our folks to come to us with the problems they have. And sure, we're not always going to have a solution that's up to their liking, but at least we do our best to listen to them. And in some cases, we do have solutions. So I think that was a big part of not only our bromance, but our friendship with the rest of the team as well.
I knew you were going to say that word at some point. But honestly, I can only echo that. Respect and communication. Those are the two biggest factors that you can have. Even if you're having a good day, a bad day, if you would have a different solution to a problem or to an answer, it doesn't mean that theirs is wrong. It doesn't mean yours is right. You just need to be open. You need to be mindful of the bigger picture. And you need to always treat their work, their answers, and everything that they do with respect.
Yeah, totally agree. And by the way, that question just kind of came out of left field for me. But the reason is I watched how you two are interacting, and I have a feeling to be on your team would be a lot of fun. So I'm just going to be honest.
That.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
Yeah. So let's kind of look at the marketing strategies that have worked the best over the past few years for you. A lot of people that are listening right now are following the trends, and we're looking at AI and things like that. What kind of things have you utilized in your past with the company, and then what are you seeing moving into the future? Let's start with Code Crew, and let's talk a little bit about what you all have implemented in your own, and then let's talk about that B2C group as well, because I think that they are listening out there right now and want to know. So
cool. You know what? I'll start with Code Crew, and then I'll throw Alex under the bus with regards to our clients, and we can do both of those. So at Code Crew, we kind of knew what we were up against. Obviously, we're from the marketing space ourselves. So we knew that we needed to market our team, our company. We started doing a lot of different things from the outset just to see exactly what works and what doesn't. We tried a lot of social media and it didn't necessarily take off for us. We did a PPC on Google AdSense from the beginning pretty much, and we started honing on what would work. And thankfully, we kind of unlocked a secret recipe there that has truly helped get us where we are right now. Referral marketing was really important to us as well. And then something else that we did from basically the word go was that we were pretty focused on SEO, and SEO never stopped being one of our focuses, because a lot of our clients that we talk to that sometimes take an interest into SEO don't really understand that SEO is not something that you wake up today and want to fix for next week. It's something that you literally spend years on trying to get somewhere and sometimes don't, unfortunately. So we knew that. We, from the very beginning, started optimizing our website, starting blogging, started doing all sorts of different things, guest posting and a lot of other things to make sure that we are slowly but surely building up our reputation. And you know what? It took us probably 3.5 to 4 years to actually start ranking, because it's a very competitive space, the one that we're on. We're not just competing with similar agencies, we're also competing with actual ESPs that have the same keywords, tackle the same blog post topics and so on and so forth. So it's a very competitive space. We focused quite heavily on that. And last but not least, something else that worked pretty decently was our focus on getting client testimonials, both in writing as well as in videos. Those have been truly transformational for us as a B2B client model. It's really important to make sure that people get a chance to listen to how good you are from your clients, not just from yourself, because I think it carries a lot more value when things are built that way.
Especially as marketers, if we have any clients come in the door, I guess leads at that point in time, and they see, all this fantastic marketing material from us, they expect it. If they see it from our clients, it means just so much more. So, it's definitely a big factor to have just that human aspect, seeing what people who have worked with us say and think and feel. And I feel like, to Dre's point, that's been huge for us. And
you know what, Alex? I just remembered again from the deep corners of my brain. Shawn, we used to have this competitive pricing model way back at the very beginning of our company. We used to actually promise leads and go with the promise that we made, although it hurt pretty bad on a couple of occasions. Yeah. That unless we were able to bring them a net positive ROI on our services, we would work for free for 6 months. So we actually ended up working for free for a couple of clients, and that was not fun. But it actually helped us gain some market share, because way early on, obviously, some of the leads that were coming in the door were basically asking us, why would I choose you guys? You have no track record, versus these other guys who have been crushing it for ABCD companies for such a long time. So we had to come up with something, and that was the angle that has actually worked for us. I think we had that for the first year and a half, and once we had a couple of successful case studies, we were actually able to offset that completely and focus more on the crushing results that we had for clients that had already worked with us.
Yeah, having a skin of the game matters so much. And actually to this day, whenever we see, agencies or folks in, some other part of the marketing world reaching out to us, if they have a guarantee like that, it makes us look back to our own times when we were young and scrappy. Well, I guess young, we're still pretty scrappy. And, it definitely makes us see and feel like, hey, these people really are invested in us. And that matters quite a lot.
And I think that, I can relate so much to that, because I think that there is a lot to be said for, somebody who, let me pause that, because I started my career as a business owner doing kind of that same thing. It was like, just let me work for you for free. I'll prove, that I can do what I say I can do. I had no reputation in the field. Nobody cared. So I appreciate that. Alex, tell me a little bit about B2C, like what are your customers seeing nowadays? And if you can touch a little bit on that, everybody wants to know about AI and how it's relating to email marketing. If you can talk a little bit about that, that would be great too. I invite you both on that one, but yeah.
AI is such a funny one. I feel like I've heard that term more this year than I've heard my wife say "I love you." I don't know what that says, but I mean, I just hear it so much. No, she says it all the time. We're doing well. But AI is a really fun one, and actually, to make it even more fun, we have a client who's in that space, and so we get to actually see firsthand, what's going on, how it's evolving, and it's an exciting space, an exciting time for it. But that being said, as far as it goes for email, at the current moment, I think it's still in its infancy to a degree that it's not entirely usable. It's getting better by the day. I mean, it's just accelerating at a rapid pace that by the time this episode comes out, I might be, wrong entirely. But yeah, it's just fascinating. I think that where it's used most at the current point in time by our clients who, want to give it a go and are just excited to get on that train is with copy. But that being said, I'd say that that's maybe one of the places not to focus it for now. So we actually have an entire copywriting team, and we always have fun. We love testing everything that we do. And one thing that we've done is testing AI generated copy versus our team's copy. I mean, even when you just look at it side by side, our team just demolishes what AI can do for now.
Yes.
Again, it might be able to beat our team, I don't know, a year from now, but with the current status of AI, I don't think it's quite there yet. It's still in the learning phase. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll leverage it more and more over the years, just, to stay relevant, stay up to date, and stay ahead. But for the time being, I really think that just that personal touch of the human aspect can't really be replaced by a computer so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then as far as our clients, how, we go ahead and make sure that, we're always getting ahead, always doing as best as by them as we can. Going back a little bit, testing is in every single thing that we do, whether it be copy, design, literally anything that you can test, do it. The more data that you have that's first party to that specific client, the better it'll be. We do stay up to date with industry trends. But that being said, those are just large trends involving, companies that are as small as the smallest of companies up to the biggest brands out there. So, every single time that you can test something, do it, because you'll gain much better insights than if you just, read industry magazines, I'd say.
Absolutely. So as we kind of wind down our time, I'd love to just get a little glimpse, and I know you may have touched on it a little bit, Alex, but a little glimpse into the future. Both for you both and Code Crew. What kind of things can we expect to see from you two and from Code Crew in the next 1 or 2 years?
We have a lot of funny sayings here, and one that we've had since day one is, I don't know if anyone listening remembers Pinky and the Brain, or if they're in that age bracket. But what's the plan? It's to take over the world. I don't know if we're going to be doing that with the email marketing, but we want to grow, of course. What business doesn't? But we also want to stay boutique enough to make sure that we're still able to provide direct value to our clients. Just the two of us, first off, and actually treat every single thing that we do with a white glove. So I'd say that's for Code Crew. For us, I mean, we both have the bug. We're probably going to start 20 different businesses by the time you talk to us next. I don't know about 20, but you always have to be moving forward in life, however that comes out. So we'll see, really. Who knows? Exciting times ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things that Alex left out there were the fact that we are working on a couple of different verticals already. So we actually have been started working on something very funnily we call Tinder for Brands, which is basically our way of putting different brands together and helping them both grow in terms of their email subscriber base and addressable market. And then something else is not really a new thing as much as something that we are working or striving towards making the very best possible item on the market, which is a tool to build emails by yourself without being kind of a creative person, we want you to be able to build the most beautiful emails that can land in an inbox and actually have them be responsive, because a lot of times the emails that we see in our inboxes are just a bunch of images paired together. And unfortunately, what happens with that is that if you send them to somebody that's either commuting on a metro or somewhere in the mountains, they don't get to experience that email at all. They load it up and there's basically nothing there because the images take too long to load. So we are working towards those couple of things. And to Alex's point, I think both of us have a couple of other irons in the fire as well, and are just kind of working towards basically doing and growing and becoming the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. I think that's something that we have both embarked on, and I think that's something for entrepreneurs. You know, we most recently heard this question on a podcast, you're an entrepreneur if, and I think both of our response there was, if you think about other things to do while you're in the shower instead of relaxing. I think that's kind of when you know you have the bug, when instead of relaxing, when there's a beautiful day outside, when you're out on a trail, when you're taking a shower or doing other things in the bathroom, you think about the next big thing that you want to achieve instead of actually being able to live in the moment and relax and whatnot.
Only for the people watching this did that one just sink in. Oh, I love it. All right. It has been a blast with you two. I want to thank you both for coming on. It is Code Crew. What's the best way for everybody to find you?
We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, find us codecrew.us, Twitter @codecrewus, and then LinkedIn codecrew. You can also find us at just codecrew.us.
Oh, that's awesome. Alex Melone and Andrei Marin, thank you both very much for being on here.
Thanks.
Thanks for the time as well. It's been a real pleasure.